This is Alan coming from you from sunny Southwest Florida. Hope you're enjoying our daily tour of homes and foreclosures here, where we present to you all the best buys and foreclosures and short sales and homes here in Southwest Florida. If you're not getting our Market Watch and you're not receiving them every day, please visit www.livinginswflorida.com, where you can sign up and get your own Market Watch sent to you every day. I've just asked to do an article recently for Zillow. If you're not familiar with Zillow.com, by the way, don't go by the valuations that Zillow and Truly and these things do. They're totally wrong. They're about 30% under pretty much across the board. And I'm going to be doing another statistics review for you, about a 30-page statistic report, so you can really see where the market is down here in Southwest Florida. And it'll be coming up here, say, within the next 2 or 3 days. But I'm going to review with you an article that I just did for Zillow for you. Let's start with it now. It starts with the Insider's Guide to Success with Short Sales. You know, really, many real estate agents steer their clients away from short sales because they think they take too long, that their commissions will be lowered, or simply because they don't know a lot about the process and what it takes to get a short sale completed successfully. Well, really, there are multiple steps involved in a short sale. If you're a buyer or seller today, it's helpful to understand the entire process from the inside out. I've done another short sale video which you can use in combination with this one, and between the two of them you got no excuse for not knowing exactly what you're getting into if you're looking at either buying or selling short sales. There are multiple steps involved in a short sale. So here are 10 things you need to know about short sales. What exactly is a short sale? A short sale isn't a foreclosure, and the property may not be anywhere near the process of being foreclosed upon. In a short sale, the seller needs to sell their home for a variety of reasons. Could be a job transfer, divorce, lost job, inability to make payments, and so on. The current market value of the property is less than what they owe the bank because its value has declined, like most homes in the United States. The seller took out an additional loans against the property, or both, and that's usually the case because almost everybody refinanced when the properties went sky high. So the majority of people are upside down in their house because they already took their cash out and they've already used it, and now they want to sell for less, and they want somebody to take the fall of that one. To complete the sale, the seller needs to go to their mortgage broker and ask permission for the bank to take less than they are owed, to get shorted, in other words. Well, in my experience, most banks actually want to work with a seller and approve the sale. It wasn't that way a couple years ago, but as opposed to having it foreclose on the property, if the seller falls behind on their payments and the property heads to foreclosure, the bank ends up owning the property. This forces the bank to be in the business of owning real estate, which isn't what banks are set up to do, and that costs them a lot of time and money. The house usually sits there for a year to go through the foreclosure process. The grass grows up, it gets beat up, it costs some more money in costs and fees. So a couple years ago, the banks weren't really closing many short sales for a variety of reasons, mostly because they were waiting for handouts from the Obama plan, which they got. So now they're more intent to close on the short sales. However, there's many things that have to be approved, very time-consuming process to get the short sale go through, but we'll get to those in a minute. From the bank's perspective, imagine if you were owed money by someone and they came to you and asked you to pay back less than you owed. What would you say? You wouldn't be too happy about it, and you'd only go along with kicking and screaming, right? Well, the same is true with lenders when a customer needs to sell their property in a short sale. They don't want to lose money, and they're going to make sure that the short sale is the best worst-case scenarios that they're facing. So in doing so, the banks have possession procedures in place, some more bureaucratic than others. Bank of America is by far the worst. They'll want a review of the seller's finances to be sure they truly can afford the payments and that their reason for selling is legitimate. So the first thing that has to happen is the people that want to do the short sale have to qualify. See, in the short sales, not only the seller has to qualify, but then the property has to qualify, and then, of course, the buyer has to qualify. If any of those three things don't happen, the short sale won't go through. So this all has to come after you make an offer on a property that you're looking to buy. So what does the bank want to see? Well, in order to decide whether or not you want to take this financial hit, the bank will require the seller to complete a short sale package, much like a loan pre-approval package when you purchase a home. The package includes, but isn't limited to, a financial worksheet completed by the seller, the past few months' bank statements, last 2 years' tax returns, the last few pay stubs, copy of the equity brokerage accounts, and a hardship letter laying out the seller's case for short sales. We get these from our short sale sellers all the time. Plus, the bank will want to see a purchase agreement, proof that the buyer has financing, authorization to speak to a third party, namely me, the listing agent, as well as a HUD-1, which is a closing statement that lays out the finances of the sale. Finally, the bank wants to have the property appraised to confirm that they are receiving the most money for the home. They'll usually do that nowadays on short sales by getting 3 buyer BPOs, which are broker price opinions, from 3 agents. Plus, if it all goes through, then they'll pay the $500 for an appraisal. The short sale review process. Nearly every bank has a term of negotiators now who are assigned to review each short sale application and make a decision. It's rare that they'll accept a short sale package as is. More likely, they're going to ask for a number of things, including a counteroffer to the purchase price and a reduction of fees and closing costs. This is why I always tell you, the prices that you see set for short sales are baiter prices. They're prices that realtors have set just to get an offer to get the process going. And then once the bank looks at it, they're going to counter with a higher offer. It's usually 20 to 30%. So then what happens? The buyer gets mad and walks, and then you get to start all over again. But the good thing is for the seller at that point, now you know what the bank will take. If they lower the listing agent's commission, it's almost always reduced below 6%, but rarely below 5%. Often the bank will ask the seller to make a financial contribution in order for them to approve the sale. I'd say in 90% of the cases at the very end, they come up the day before closing and they ask the seller to sign a $15,000 to $25,000 promissory note. And as you can imagine, most sellers are selling because they don't have any money or they're needing to get out from under anything. And when this bomb gets dropped on them on the day before, it really upsets and irritates them. We warn them it's coming, but the day it comes, they still seem to get upset. They have a 50-50 chance on this. This is generally okay with the seller, and often the sellers will agree to a payment plan. Everything is a negotiation here, and the listing agent is generally the one negotiating with the bank on behalf of the seller. However, there's about a 50-50 chance here. I've had to go both ways. Majority of sellers say, no, I'm not going to sign it. For those, you got a 50-50 chance. The bank still may complete the short sale, or they may not. It's just up in the air. It doesn't go back and forth. They just say yes or no, close the file, and send it on its way. Or the seller can agree to the note. Whether or not they ever pay it, who knows, but they can agree to the note, in which case the property will close and everything goes down the road. Okay, now let's talk about the sellers often required to miss a payment. This happened to us just recently on a home. Many banks will require the seller to miss a payment in order to process a short sale. I don't know of a bank anywhere that'll do a short sale if your payments are current. The reason it is because they say, well, the bank figures that the reason the short sale process is there is to help with a hardship scenario, and if your payments are current, they figure you're not in a hardship scenario. In essence, the bank is rejecting the short sale and telling the seller to come back and reapply after they've gotten behind on the payments. This happens all the time. If you're a seller with perfect credit but circumstances require you to sell the property as a short sale, the bank wants you to pay for it by negatively affecting your credit with a 30, 60, or 90-day late payment. This is the most troubling, misunderstood, and backwards part of a short sale, and part of the reason why they take so long. This will likely set the seller and the potential buyer back at least 30 days, probably closer to 60 or 90, because the whole process will start over again once the buyer or the seller is behind 30 days in their payment. The buyer then often walks away, sometimes after waiting 60 days. If you want to avoid this roadblock, if you're a seller, start missing your payments as soon as you know a short sale is inevitable. Yes, you heard me right. I've literally advised sellers to stop making their mortgage payments. We just recently had a sale in which the seller would just refuse to have their credit affected and didn't want to miss a payment. And I never could understand the reasoning because, you know, if you have a short sale on your credit, it's like having a bankruptcy, so to speak of. So it was more, they didn't mind that, but they didn't want to have a 30-day late. That's kind of like saying, well, I don't want to have a late Visa payment on my credit, but I'll have a bankruptcy. It kind of seems like they're worried about the wrong thing here, but the seller refused to do it, so the day before closing, the deal fell apart, and that deal was at $180,000. 3 months later, 4 months later, as I've told you, prices have come up down here. We were able to sell that same home and for $220,000. The seller still had to come to the table with $7,000 cash, but they felt that was a better option than having their credit dinged, so they avoided the short sale. But I'm telling you right now that I don't know any bank anywhere that'll do a short sale if you're current on your payments. It just won't happen. Let's talk about facing up against a foreclosure. This is where things get messy and timing is everything. If you miss your payments for 90 days, a notice of default is filed and the foreclosure process begins. The foreclosure department is likely a completely different arm of the bank, so it doesn't always have knowledge of the short sale offer. And really, honest is, nobody at the banks, everybody you talk to, nobody knows what the other person is doing. Is a complete cluster mess. Sometimes they'll work hand in hand to delay the foreclosure if a short sale application is in, but many times, especially if they are so disconnected, the foreclosure department simply forges ahead. I have heard horror stories about a full-price short sale offer on the table, yet the bank still foreclosed. I've had a home sell at $450. I sold it at $430, $420 twice, $410, and $400, only to have the short sale people not get back to us. The bank foreclosed and then sold it for $360. So you tell me whose fault it is that we're in this problem. The banks are their absolute worst enemies. My biggest advice is to have your ducks in a row before going on the market. Prior to listing your property in a short sale, request a copy of the short sale package from your lender. Start with a customer service telephone number. They usually can get you in touch with the loss mitigation department so you can find out what's required to complete a short sale and get everything that the bank needs up front. A good real estate agent like ourselves that are experts at doing this will have every single piece of information available and ready to send to the bank before they list the property. When we receive an offer, we can add the purchase agreement and the closing statement to that package. Short sales take a long time when the seller or real estate agent have an offer but don't have any of the paperwork ready to send to the bank. If you're a potential short sale buyer, ask the listing agent you're working with, or ask us if we've made contact with the bank. We check that out on every buyer. If it's somebody else's listing, these are some of the things that we use to qualify a short sale listing to make sure that you as a buyer is not going to be wasting your time. If the answers to these questions are no, or you received a blank stare, chances are you're going down a long, rocky road, and we're going to make sure that you, as our buyer, is going to avoid those kinds of problems if we're shopping for short sales and foreclosures with you. Trust me, we've done this a long time. We know exactly what we're doing. Additional places the short sale gets hung up on. Well, the banks require a lot of paperwork in order to present the short sale to the negotiator. If they don't have an absolute complete package, they won't send it on. This means that if you're missing one document or one bank statement has the wrong date, there'll be a holdup. They throw it back at us, and then when we resubmit it, do you think they pick up where it's left over? No, that'd be too easy. They start all over again. So even though it's 2011, many banks require the packages to be faxed into their system. This means lost pages or missing documents. This is a famous thing they always do. We've faxed things before and called them to verify they received it. They told us they received it, and then when they delay, they always say, well, they haven't received it. So then we resend it a second time, and they use that as an excuse to start the whole process over again. It's their way of delay tactics, especially when they're trying to sell the bad loan to another investor, or they're waiting for funds for their federal government as part of the Obama bailout fiasco. Plus, the bank, as busy as it is, isn't likely to call you and tell you what they're missing. They never call us. So the listing agent or the seller needs to stay on top of the bank. We call every day. I have 2 attorneys hired full-time with a full-time staff that do nothing but short sales and foreclosures. They sit on the phone all day long and call. Trust me, it's a long, laborious process. Once the package, and I've seen them up to 185 pages have faxed in, a call should be made confirming the fax was received. Within a few days, another call should be made to ensure the package has been assigned to a processor. The processor's job is to provide the negotiator with everything needed for review. Check with the processor to see if they're missing anything or not, how long it'll take to be assigned a negotiator. Most banks will tell you 5, 10, or 21 days, but staying on top of the bank will help speed up the process. As the saying goes, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and it's definitely in the case of short sales and foreclosures. Well, we're getting towards the end here, but the final step is getting the approval. The waiting game begins once the file is complete, is on the desk of the negotiator. At this point, there's nothing you can do but wait for a decision for the negotiation. Once the approval and all the negotiating has been completed, the regular sale escrow process begins. Be aware that the bank prefer these to be as is, so there won't be any room for additional fees, request credits, or adjustments. Having said that, I once went back to the short sale lender and requested and received a $20,000 reduction in the purchase price due to some serious termite issues that were uncovered during the property inspection. But for the most part, they don't really want to work with anybody. They won't accept any kind of terms or conditions or repairs or anything. These are the things that people don't understand. When you're shopping short sales and foreclosures, you're going to buy them as is. The banks don't spend any money fixing them up, and for the most part, they're pretty darn rough because the people losing them have either been short on money and haven't really taken care of them, or beat them up when they moved out because I guess they felt that it was somebody else's problem that they screwed up. Anyway, advice to buyers, sellers, and agents: whatever the role you're playing in the short sale drama, be patient and persistent. I've seen short sales approved in less than 30 days. Our last couple were that way, but I've seen others, in 9 months. I even had one that was almost 3 years. Sold the home several times. But fortunately, I can tell you that with my attorneys on staff that we have going, we've closed 100% of our short sales that we've done, except for that one that I told you went to foreclosure, and that was a Bank of America, but it was in the early days of the process. It all depends on the bank, the seller, and of course who your listing agent is. And if you're with us, I can almost give you a 99.9% rate that will get you your short sale closed. If you're a potential buyer, try not to get too attached to a short sale property if you don't get a sense that the listing agent is familiar with the process, or if you realize the agent and the seller don't have their ducks in a row. You may need to walk away no matter how good a deal the short sale is. No, let me rephrase that. Run away, because you're going to waste time. I would say the majority of my buyers today have already been down this road several times. They call us, they say, whatever you do, we don't want anything to do with short sales, because they've already learned that short sales is a real pain. 90% of them don't work out. They get attached to a home that doesn't close. It's simply not worth it. When I can guarantee you I can find you better properties at better prices than short sales or foreclosures that you can actually buy and close in 30 days. I promise you that. Give me an opportunity to prove it to you. Read our testimonials. Every one of those clients started out thinking they wanted short sales or foreclosures. The majority of them did not buy a short sale or foreclosure, and they came out better because of it, and they'll tell you it. Anyway, I'm a realtor here based in Southwest Florida and Seattle. I'm a contributor to Zillow blog. I've collaborated on multiple real estate books, and I'm often quoted by major media outlets. And you can follow me either on our Facebook page or www.livinginswflorida.com. This is Alan Smith wishing you a warm, wonderful, sunny Southwest Florida day. Bye-bye now.